Hey, this is Dr. Lou, and today I'm cooking seafood gumbo. Alright, so here's the deal. We're making gumbo today. We're going to start with a small pot, and we're going to put the roux. We're going to make the roux in the small pot. We're going to put flour in, and we're going to put oil in, and we're going to cook it for a little while until it becomes brown. Once it's brown, then we're going to start adding the ingredients fairly quickly into the mixture. I am modifying an old recipe, and so it may not seem traditional, but the end result is going to blow your mind. The oven has been preheated to 365, 350 is fine too. What we're going to do is we're going to put the andouille sausage in here and cook them for a few minutes. As you can see, we've got this smaller blue pot back here on a gentle burner, and I am going to add the oil here, let that heat up. The orange pot is going to be where we create the water that is going to be put back into the roux. We're going to boil the water, and we're going to add some of the seafood to the orange pot. 8 cups of water right there. It's going to be added to the roux mixture. Little blue pot's got the oil in it, and it is about to have the flour in it too. And I'm going to give this a little stir. And add a little bit more. When you're making a roux, you don't want to add this too fast. If you add the flour too fast, you're going to have a clumpy mess. It's already looking pretty good. Again, this is just oil and flour. And I'll admit, being from Maine, I am far from a gumbo expert. But even though we're up north, we can still make it. Don't be afraid. Now we're going to want to make this brown. I've got more flour to add. I think I may add a little bit more oil. Sometimes you got to play this stuff out a little bit and know when to add a little bit more of something. this looks when we add this on here. Yeah, that's going to be good. So I'm going to put that back on that back burner there. And we're going to let it get brown and make sure it doesn't burn. I've got it on a real low heat. But the idea is that it does brown up. We do not want this to look like this when it's all said and done. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like in just a second. All right, now we're going to have a look at these sausages that have been sliced and cooked. That is perfectly fine right there. Awesome. They smell delicious. We're going to leave these out. They can even cool. Doesn't really matter. Those are going to be awesome. All right. So here we go. We've got the water boiling. We're going to add the fish. We're going to add some mussels. We're going to add some scallops. And we're going to add lobster. Claws and tails, claws and tails. And we're going to turn this into a magical water mixture. I almost forgot the shrimp. So I'm going to add the shrimp. There are the shrimp, and they're going in right now too. Now we're going to leave this seafood in here for the next 4 minutes to cook. And then we'll go from there. We're going to bring this to a boil. And then take the lobster, the shrimp, the scallops, the mussels, the fish. We're going to take it all out and use the water separately. And then we're going to put it all back together at the end. The poaching liquid here appears to be done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a slotted spoon / strainer, and we're going to pull it out and put it in this bowl here. So it's been about 10 minutes with this roux cooking, and it's starting to darken up, which is exactly what we want. And pretty soon we're going to add the onions to the roux. Once the onions cook down a little bit in the roux, we're going to add the roux with the onions into the pot filled with the water that was boiled with all that seafood. The roux here is starting to darken up quite a bit. Now they say you want it to be like a mahogany type of color. I might go a little lighter than that, but you can see that it's looking more like coffee yogurt at this point than it is that white roux that we started. And if you could smell this, what you would smell is a pretty rich sort of, well, let me see, almost burnt toast smell. I'm happy with the way this looks, so I'm going to add the onions right now and start stirring. Okay, so we're going to add the onion roux mixture to the water. And we're going to stir it and bring it to a boil. Just like that. All right, I'm adding a couple of teaspoons of pepper. I'm going to add a bit of salt here. That's about a teaspoon of salt and a half. I'm going to stir that in just like that. You can see it's starting to thicken up. I turned the heat down. It's no longer boiling. And I'm going to start adding ingredients like cayenne pepper. for which I'm going to add about a teaspoon and a half, maybe even 2 teaspoons. I'm going to mix that in. I did not add a chili pepper to this concoction, but you can, and it's often called for. I'm going to use a whisk to chop up that chili a little bit. Celery. The green pepper. The tomato. The scallions. The okra. And I'll be reincorporating in much of the seafood as well. Skipping the fish, putting in the lobster, the mussels, scallops. A piece of fish just fell in. We'll leave that in there. I'm also adding 5 cloves of chopped garlic here. And even though this needs to be added at the end as well, I'm going to add in the filet powder a little bit right now so that it starts getting some of the kick that it needs. I'm adding about a teaspoon and a half of thyme. In Emeril Lagasse's recipe, he calls for a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, so I'm going to drizzle some in here, and I'm also going to add, according to him, recommended by him, some amber or some slightly dark beer. I'm not adding a whole lot. This gumbo is going to cook for about an hour, and at the very end we're going to add in the shrimp and the fish, and then we're going to serve it with rice. Listen, if you like these recipes, here's the deal. You need to subscribe to my channel right now. You need to share the videos with your friends, and you need to stay tuned for future videos that are going to be equally awesome.